Hi, I'm Ashley Morrison. I'm joined today by Nigel Barley, one of the hand cyclists from Wheelchair Sports WA. Hello there, Nigel.
Hey Ash, how are you?
Good, thanks. First of all, can you explain to us hand cycling, you know, what sort of races there are? Are they sprints or are they all long distance, or is there a whole myriad of opportunities there?
It's more like hand cycling's like, it's just a bike really. If you get in a sort of two-wheel bike, invert it, it's basically like that. I mean, except we got an extra wheel, we got 3 wheels instead of 2. I mean, it's just like a bike race. I mean, it's about endurance. I mean, the distances are sort of, our distance is 50 plus our road races, but as your disability gets sort of like harder, like say for the quads, theirs is sort of shorter, their races is shorter sort of thing. So it could go from, there is a race in sort of Switzerland, it's a 177 kilometre race. That's for hand cycles, but that's probably the biggest event, the biggest, longest event. So.
Have you done that one yet? Or?
I have done that one. That was my first international event, and I sort of crashed about 8 Ks into the race, and then sort of the race was gone, so I had to ride the rest of the race by myself. So it was a long day, it took 7.5 hours, but it was a long day and I did it. So.
A bit crazy doing that as your first international race.
Yeah, we went over there to do a shorter one, but we somehow got pressured into doing a larger one, sort of, so a longer distance race, and that was it. So.
Now, obviously you got into hand cycling following your disability. Can you share with us how you ended up in a wheelchair?
Well, sort of, I went to work just like any other person. Sort of, I was in the construction industry, and builders tend to cut corners. Not every builder, but just some builders, they tend to sort of cut corners and don't put safety rails up, and sort of I went to a job that was probably unsafe, and there was no safety rail, so I fell off, sort of, only fell 3 metres, landed on a hammer, and that sort of broke my back. That pushed my back, my spinal cord right out, so that's how I ended up in a wheelchair.
And I mean, there's a lot of sports that you can play as a wheelchair athlete. What drew you to hand cycling?
Yeah, I don't know, it's just after my accident, I really didn't do anything for a year, sort of thing. I mean, and then sort of I was starting to put on a bit of weight, because I was like drinking those pre-mixed cans, and sort of, you know, there's a lot of sugar in that, so I just thought, you know, sort of, and then sort of my dad went to Wheelchair Sports and got a hand cycle. I just started riding, and just the freedom, and sort of pushing around in a chair all day gets a bit sort of mundane, so just started riding the bike. I mean, sort of you go for as long as you want, for, you know, as hard as you want, but yeah, just started riding the bike. I never went there to go as sort of like at the level I'm riding at now, but sort of I just went there to have fun and sort of participate, but sort of just now I'm here. So.
I mean, you mentioned that, you say you didn't expect to perform at the level that you are. You've been the national time trial champion, the national road champion. I mean, what drove you to get to that level?
What drove me? It's just, you know, I just found something that I love doing. I mean, if you love what you do so much, you'll just do it. And I love riding my bike, just because I just go out there for hours. I can just be by myself, I can ride my bike and do my training, and then come home and worry about what goes on, you know. So that's what that kept me going. So.
And the time trials, is that again just over a set distance on the road, or do you, I'm presuming you couldn't go on the track, obviously?
No, we don't sort of time trial on the velodrome, it's all road stuff. I mean, time trials, sort of, say UCI standards is, if you go to the Worlds, they're sort of 20 plus Ks, not much more than that, but sort of, so it works out so you have a shorter time trial and a longer road race, or you can have a longer road race and a shorter time trial. So, I mean, but we sort of time trial with ADA. We're sort of very lucky to have a sort of corporation like ADA, sort of a group like ADA, the Australian Time Trials Association in Perth, which Mouse lets us ride with them all the time. I mean, and they're sort of, they've got 160s. I do a lot of the 80 time trials, 80 kilometre time trials, but sort of they vary all the time from 40 to 20 to a short sprint, which is 16 kilometres around Bibra Lake. So.
And what sort of speeds are you getting up to?
Speeds I'm up to now, I sort of time trialled around Champion Lakes sort of about a month ago, an average of 37.9 kilometres an hour. I was about 5 seconds off doing a 38 kilometre hour average.
That's pretty quick, isn't it? And yeah. I mean, your arms, do you do any training for your upper body, obviously, to get that power to get you going?
Sure, so it's sort of, we ride our bikes like, well, I ride my bike 6 days a week. I do gym it's 3-4 times, you know. Sometimes, I mean, if I feel a bit tired, I won't do gym, but that's just part of the bike. Depends how many Ks you've done sort of that day. So.
And I mean, we mentioned the time trial and the road race. Do you prefer one event to the other?
I prefer time trial because we time trial in Perth all the time, and we don't sort of really get that road race sort of experience. When we go to Europe, we road race, but sort of, you know, I prefer a time trial because then that's like a race of truth. It's like you versus the elements, and there's no one else. There's no tactical game. It's just you going as hard as you can for as long as you can, trying to finish first.
Do you have team events as well in the hand cycling? You know, like we see in some of the other cycling events where it's a team, the first sort of 4 of you through the finish?
No, well, usually I've just started introducing sort of a team time trial. So if you go to the Worlds, there's like a team time trial. You get 6 points. You've got to have like a H4 and 2 H1s or 3 H1s, like, or a H2, H4 and a H1. So you've got to have 6 points. So 3 bike riders, and they have a time trial. So.
And just for those people that don't know the H1s and H2s, it's the gradings of the disability, isn't it? And
yes.
That's how you get the points, and they must add up to a set total.
Yeah, it depends where your brake is on your back. If it's sort of, I'm a T12, so that puts me in sort of a H3 class. If you're a below the knee sort of, if you're an amputee, that's like a H4 class. But if you sort of move up a bit, sort of go up your back a bit, you go to H2, H1s, and sort of, yeah.
Now you won a silver medal this year in the national championships, is that right, I think?
I won the time trial, but I got beaten in the road race.
And how does that place you though with 2012 and obviously the Paralympics in London? Are you still a very good chance to be going over for that?
Yeah, definitely. We just come back from the AIS because I placed in the top 6 in the world, so now sort of Cycling Australia, they've put me in this preparation program for London. So it's called the PPP, it's called the Paralympic Preparation Program for London. So they're going to spend a lot of money developing athletes to go to London. So yeah.
Have you been to a Paralympics before?
No.
How do you feel about the possibility that you could be going to London?
Oh, I'm stoked about it, you know what I mean? That's what we work for, that's what we sort of, 4 years of hard work for, that's what it's all about. 4 years of blood, sweat and tears, and just to reach the pinnacle. Once you've reached the pinnacle, what do you do?
And how special was it to go to Canberra to be actually now part of almost the elite program where you're getting specialist training and help and guidance?
Oh, it was phenomenal. I mean, I'd just stay over there, just eat the food as well, mate. You could eat as much food as you want, and it's all like there's no fatty food, you know. It's all sort of good food, cooked by good sort of chefs for athletes. So it's all good food.
And do you think you've learnt things from that week there?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. They taught you a lot of things about travel and sort of about recovery and a lot of stuff you didn't realise that sort of young people certainly know their stuff. So
do you already, are you sort of seeing that you're implementing some of those things in your training programs?
Yeah, definitely. Recovery and sort of just, and eating sort of differently. So
you mentioned that you cycle 6 times a week and you got the gym sessions. We're sort of, do you take any breaks at any point in the year, or is it pretty constant?
It's pretty constant. Another thing you learnt over in sort of in Canberra was once you stop doing something, if you stop for 60 hours, you start losing what you've made, what you've got. So, I mean, I don't really, because you don't really want to go back because you want to stay fit all the time. I mean, we have like an easy period where we don't sort of really ride sort of hard intensities. We just sort of do it easy, just like cruise along and have a bit of fun. But you know, when it comes time to sort of turn the screw up, well, that's what you got to do.
One thing you see in a lot of the, like for example, the road racing is like the Tour de France. There'll be someone that will take the front to work with the others. Do you work in packs as well there?
Yeah.
And you help each other?
Exactly like a bike race, you know. I mean, you always get the people that don't want to work, and then it becomes like you know, you get a really bad name sort of not working, so I don't mind taking my turn at the front.
And how do you see your chances if you get to the Paralympics in 2012 of getting a medal? Are they pretty high?
Well, they are now. I mean, sort of because I placed 6th at the Worlds, and I wasn't that far behind them boys, and I know that sort of commitment, if you commit to it, I mean, I know that I can catch them boys, you know, so I reckon I can be amongst the front runners. So.
Well, Nigel, we're going to be watching your progress, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.